All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For those who are slowly but surely signing in, happy Friday. All right, please make sure that as you sign in, please make sure to put the following information in the chat. So first and last name, school site, your position and grade level at your school site, and then of course your GDOE email. All right. As we give some time for other participants to join us, please by all means click on the links, or not click on the links, but follow the links you see on your screen. The first link leads to the video by Joe Sanchez about the models of learning. And then the other URL is connected to Joshua Bloss's PowerPoint on lesson plan design for distance learning. So again, good morning, everyone. Please make sure to sign in with your first and last name, your school site, your position and grade level, and your GDOE email. Also, please make sure that your display name that we see on the chat is your name. This is for attendance purpose. So thank you very much. Get back to you in a few minutes. Good morning, everyone. So we're just going to give a few more minutes before we begin to some attendees just slowly but surely trickling in. So go ahead, grab some coffee, do some morning stretches, get your laundry started. We'll begin momentarily. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to get started on Module 7. And just to let you know, this is Module 7, Online Management Course Overview. My name is Michelle Franquez, and I'm one of your co-facilitators. One of my fellow ICs, Mrs. Melissa Duenas, she is also a secondary instructional coach for GDOE. She will be helping facilitate this presentation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us on this happy Friday. Woo. So let's go. So just some rules for housekeeping. Again, because this is a webinar, some of the features are a little different, but one thing for sure, please make sure whenever you guys sign into your webinars or Zoom meetings for GDOE training, make sure that your name is displayed for attendance purposes. And then also with the Zoom webinar, it's a little different from a Zoom meeting. And so there is this nifty feature called Q&A. And if you have any questions or concerns, please put all your questions or input or feedback or comments in the Q&A section, only because with the chat, we're using it for the sign-in, and it sometimes gets lost among the different emails and short-term messages. So if you guys do not mind, again, for the chat, use that for your sign-in for attendance purposes. And then for any questions, feedbacks, comments, use the Q&A. Myself or any of my fellow panelists will be able to address your questions. So thank you. Just a simple reminder, yes, this PowerPoint and other resources will be made available to you as soon as this training cycle is completed. Every webinar that we have been using for the training modules and every Zoom meeting are recorded onto the cloud, and the links will be shared with your school admin and dispersed among all the trainees that are participating. So again, thank you very much for your time and your patience. And if you want to, you are able to save the chat for whatever purposes. But again, the chat is going to be used for our sign-in sheet, and any questions and answers, please use the Q&A feature on the Zoom webinar. So thank you very much again for joining us. So let's move on Friday. All right, so the brief overview, it's a very simple layout of the information that's going to be shared with you today, just housekeeping and signing in. Then we're just going to do a live run through, an overview of ACE Digital, and then some food for thought in regards to online learning and online teaching. Then of course we have the evaluation link, and then information for those who are interested in receiving a grad credit for the training cycles that you guys participate. And then of course the Q&A, if you have any questions and answers that we have yet to address throughout this presentation, then we will try to address them at the end of this training session. So again, before we begin, simple sign-in practice that we've been using for the training modules, please make sure your first and last name are there, as well as your school site, your position and grade level that you teach if you are a teacher, and your GDOE email. All right, this is for attendance purpose, and also for those with their GDOE email, it's also your access to the evaluation at the end of this training session. Now, for those who do not have an established GDOE email, please make sure to give us your professional email, the best way to contact you, and we can send a link for you. And that way you guys are able to take the evaluation as well. So let's move forward. All right, so my PowerPoint works mostly as a reference guide that will be sent to you later, but what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna go to ACE Digital right here, and we're just gonna do a simple run-in. All right, now for some of you, and I know for mostly, there's some middle school teachers there, and some high school teachers, but here we go. So even whether or not you have an established ACE Digital account, we still want to go through the run through, but I do highly encourage that all those who are interested in knowing more about ACE Digital to visit acedigitalacademy.net. Everything is listed out here, especially with helpful videos if you want to see what the students would experience, from knowing what kind of courses are offered, which are over 200 different courses, to the different features that include parent access or group, a guest visit, or even just seeing how we work through the LMS, then you guys are able to see it through ACE Digital Academy. So basically the way the procedure goes is that we establish an ACE Digital account for you. You get your access code as well as a temporary password. And then we're going to sign into the TL8 login. Now, because I do have an established account, I actually did use ACE Academy in my classes a few years back. They were able to reactivate it. All right, so here we go. This is the main page. Now, the great thing about Aurora, and this is just one of the learning management systems under ACE Digital, is that it's a very simple interface. Now, many of our parents and our students, although are tech savvy with smartphones, may not be familiar with a lot of our learning management systems. So the simpler the interface, the better. And as you can see on my screen, that the teacher sent, the ACE Digital platform right here is very simple, very straightforward. You cannot misunderstand anything. It's not too busy. So over here, we're going to be focusing on the navigation pane over here. All right, so my account, I would click it, but there's some personal information there. But with the My Account, you would add your contact information, such as your email, maybe if you have a work phone number that you share with your students, or if you want to add the address for the school that you work at, that's where you would put that information. It is also where you would change your temporary password to something that you would remember so that you won't have any difficulty later on down the line. All right, so moving forward with Collaborate. Collaborate is basically the features where you are interacting with your students. And so you have your messages, your announcements, and then the evaluations that you set up for your course, whether it be for your students to evaluate you or you evaluate your students. All right, so here's your inbox with the messages. Again, it's been a few years since I've used ACE Digital as a teacher. It was more of a supplement to my AP English courses rather than the main focus, but my students did enjoy using it. Again, one of the highlights for ACE Digital, especially with this particular platform, is that it's a simple interface, and the simpler, the better. So you can either write a message, look at your sent messages, and then of course, tech support is one of the #1 things. I just want to go over to tech support real quickly. And as you can see, they have their prompt boxes. They know what their FAQs or their typical questions that they get when people are having issues with their Zoom account, sorry, not your Zoom account, but your ACE Digital account. So these are just little nifty things to know. So messages, announcements, as you can see, just like you had your homepage where everything was automatically there in your main page when you sign in, so would the student page look like this. And so in regards to student view, I know some people were interested in the student view, but today we're going to be focusing on the teacher view. Again, if you're interested in more of the features for ACE Digital, by all means, feel free to visit acedigitalacademy.net. And as you surf along, you would actually be able to see videos of how students are able to access their account and how they interact with lessons. So here we go. The next one I want to go over are the reports. All right, so with the reports, seat time is referring to how often do your students sign in, how much time did they spend in your class. Again, it's not the idea that you're the only one using ACE Digital, but also other teachers. So you can actually see how long does a student commit to doing the work for their classes. The student expiration report, think of it as a timeline for their transcripts. So once a student ends a course, they give some extra grace period, but you wanna know when that student ended your course on ACE Digital. Progress reports, pretty self-explanatory. You get to see the student's progress through the course. Lessons to grade, lessons for that were submitted, just documents that you need to grade or at least return back to your students. Student inactivity, again, if a school is utilizing ACE Digital, whether as a supplemental program or they're actually integrating it into their classroom or their curriculum, then you can actually see how often is the student engaging in those lessons for ACE Academy or ACE Digital Academy. The student list is your student roster, and then of course your attendance daily and monthly. If you guys are familiar with PowerSchool, it's very similar where you get to see the layout of the students' attendance throughout the day. But for attendance for ACE Digital, it's more so how often are they actively online? Are they going on a daily basis? Are they going on a once every week basis? So you get to see what patterns your students have and then further try to create a more personalized lesson plan for that student's needs. Then of course you have your gradebook where it breaks down all their lessons. Again, although I had this account for a while, everything has been archived. Any questions so far? Nope. And so I want to go to the next one, which is where I think most teachers would be kind of curious. So with ACE Digital, they have over 200 courses that teachers can actually sign up for, and they have a basic platform that's already set up. Now, because I am an instructional coach and I am an ELA teacher, I did ask if they could set me up with English courses from 9th grade to 12th grade. So on ACE Digital, English fundamentals equates to English 9. Then you have literature of the world, which is actually English 10. Then you have literature of America, English 11, and then English 12 is British Lit. And of course, that one student was just to make sure that I actually could establish a class. And what you will see, and let me just make sure that you guys can see this. So when I click here, you will see that there are all these preset lessons. Now, this is an advantage for teachers, especially since some of you will be teaching all 3 modules. And so what this does for you is that with these pre-made lessons, majority of them are already set with, they're already set and ready to be graded. So once a student submits this assignment, it's going to be automatically graded. You just turn it back to the student after you have, recorded it saying, okay, student has done it. This is their grade. You can give the student the opportunity to redo the assignment so that they can try to score a higher score. So let me just set this up with you to just see how simple this interface is. Again, for those students who need more support, this is where you as a teacher would try to be a facilitator, where you try to really be there for your students. But when you see this little sample that I'm about to share with you, you'll understand what I mean. So let me just make sure you guys can see this real quickly. All right. Taryn, can you see that new text box, brown box? All right, so here we go. So this is an example of a lesson that a student would see if they were on ACE Digital. Again, I would highly encourage using ACE Digital lessons as a supplemental practice for students who need more practice with vocabulary, students that need more practice with comprehension, but that's from the English language arts perspective. For the other content areas, you might find this also useful for supplemental lessons to give the student extra practice at home, most especially if they choose to do the distant learning where they're learning fully online at home. So this is a prompt box. Again, the vocabulary and the diction used for this is very simple. It's very straightforward. As we try to strive with our lesson plan development, we want to make sure that the students understand where they're supposed to go, what they're supposed to do. So it's very approachable, very simple to understand. So please use, for example, welcome to lesson 2. Please use your own dictionary or this online dictionary to look up the words below. After you have read and understand their meanings, answer the multiple choice questions that follow the list of words. So everything is very straightforward. Now, because we are on the teacher view, we already see the correct answer. All right, so the students would actually go through the lessons. And if any of the students should have an issue accessing a certain web page, then right here, they can report it right there. And notice how there are hyperlinks. So these deal with lessons that are incorporated within ACE Digital. And as the teacher, you would have the access to it. One thing right here that I do like is the comments to your teacher. Of course, after you establish digital citizenship and proper etiquette online when they are interfacing with you or interacting with you online, of course, they will know what kind of comments to leave for you. You make sure that you set those ground rules, that if they're going to leave comments for you, it always pertains to what they're learning, something that they're struggling with, something they would like to know more about. So right there, so here we go. So it continues on, and at the end of every segment right here, with every click, you'll notice that there's comments to the teacher, and you'll be able to see it as the students answered it. So this is pretty much it. It's a very simple interface. All right, now for some people, for me, the way that ACE Digital, the ACE Digital Academy set it up is that the students are able to work on this by themselves. But again, we don't want anyone feeling that they're doing this alone. So the thing about it is that you use it to gauge student learning, and you use it to gauge how can you help that student and personalize the lesson plan to help that student progress through the levels of work and the skills. And so you just see it as a baseline. Work with them to see, okay, so if they're working at this level, can they work on something harder? Can we give them more activities to do? What are some other assignments away from ACE Digital that you can do to help them learn or reinforce what they're learning? So again, use ACE Digital as a supplemental assignment, something where it just builds up more of what you're teaching in your classroom. All right. So again, just to share, okay, hold on. Let me just close back here. So going back here real quickly, again, there are over 200 some courses, fine arts, sciences, and of course, foreign languages, fine arts. There are many different, and of course, health and PE. So there's many different courses that can be offered and are offered by ACE Digital Academy. I'm just showing you an example of how these assignments look. With ACE Digital, okay, so Mel will answer that one. So with ACE Digital, again, as a teacher, you would need to have a sign-in account, login account. It is free to use if we have the license for it and if we want to incorporate it in our classroom. But it's just something to consider as another platform, or not really a platform, but as a textbook for students to use. We would have to use it as a district. All right, here we go. All right, so again, this is the course catalog. So what you should be seeing on your screen right now is a PDF loading up. And it is 40 pages that I would highly encourage you guys just to surf through, to look through, to see what are the options you have as supplemental lessons. When they were first offering this to me as an AP English teacher, I was looking for more of the writing composition courses. And then I was also asking for more Pacific literature courses. So the great thing about ACE Digital is that they're willing to take the time to create the curriculum. But if you are looking for something expedient, something that could be set up by the start of this new school year, you would actually have to give them more time. So again, my recommendation is to use something like ACE Digital as a supplement to your lessons and to your online course. All right, so there was a question in regards to preloading the classroom. So as I just said earlier, the thing about it is that it does take time for them to make more personalized courses to your preference and to how you do your outline. I did ask this question before when I was still a teacher, and I asked them, well, what if I have a certain way that I present my curriculum? What if there are certain pieces of curriculum that I use or literature that I use in my curriculum for my AP classes? So it does take time to create a personalized class. So a lot of these courses are very, how do you say, a standard form or template. They're very simple. They're not super personalized. And that would be one area of growth in regards to ACE Digital, that it's very simple, but that's what also makes it very effective and universal. The fact that it's a very simplistic, very approachable, very understandable template. But again, working with ACE Digital, if you really want them to develop a classroom or an online course particular to your requirements, that's something that it's going to take some vested time. All right, so gonna go back to my login page real quickly. All right, so those are the classrooms. One thing about the interface is that, let me just go back here, is that again, it's very simple to use, and it would actually ease some of your burdens in terms of having to grade assessments. Okay, here we go. Having some internet issue real quickly. Here we go. Log out. And then just log in again. All right, Mrs. or Miss O'Donnell, I will have to speak to the coordinators for ACE Digital, but I will do my best to get a hold of them and see if we can figure out what is going on with your account. All right, so the test center, I'm just answering questions as they go along, but here we go. So the graded lessons, as you saw, there was no lessons to grade. Again, very simple interface, so you know what needs to be done. Test center is basically just where you can actually create or even upload a test onto ACE Digital. So add a test is right up here. All right, so you can create a test over here, but that could be used for a later date only because I'm just trying to give you just a brief overview of the different options for ACE Digital. And of course, because I have no students enrolled, I wouldn't have a student roster settled in right now or established right now. So here we go. Going back to my presentation real quickly. Okay, so again, navigating through ACE Digital, you would need to have your access information with a temporary password. Go to acedigitalacademy.net, sign in, and then of course your home page is right here. And of course, again, with the personal account, I had to keep it kind of, I had to erase some of my information here. But again, you would put your professional contact information around this, in this panel over here. And then of course, collaborate menu just refers to how would you communicate information about your class, certain evaluations, whether students evaluating you or vice versa. Creating messages to your students. Now, the great thing about this is that when you have all your rosters uploaded into ACE Digital, you can find the students either by their first name or their last name. And then if you have even a teacher's aide or another teacher co-teaching with you, you can also find it through that way, the user role. Tech support in the event that you have an issue with accessing any of your grades, your lessons, or if you're having issues with a student's information, this is the way to reach out to them. Any reports that these are just documenting student interaction on your class or in your class online. From the seat time report to student expiration report, student progress reports, lessons to grade, just telling you what you need to look over and return to the students, student lesson submissions, inactivity if they haven't been going on, and then of course your student rosters and your daily and monthly attendance reports. And then of course your gradebook. Again, because I do not have any active classes, I do not have a gradebook to show you a sample for. And then of course your classrooms that you're given. Test, you can add or create one. And that's pretty much the overview of ACE Digital. Again, this was just a brief overview. I do highly encourage you guys that if you are interested in implementing ACE Digital as a supplement to your courses online or just to your courses in general, that you just take the time to surf through all the information on acedigitalacademy.net and see if this is something that you would like to integrate into your classroom. So we're just going to take a really short brain break because, again, that was a lot of information to process and also gives us time to look at more of the Q&A. So it is 8:33 right now. I'll give you guys about 5 minutes to stand, stretch, ask your questions, address some questions, and then drink some coffee. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. So see you at 8:38. All right, be back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back. That I have to say that was the fastest 5 minutes ever. So just to recap some of the questions. So I know someone noticed that on my PowerPoint, I said to check your GDOE access. That was actually an example. So in the event that you do set up an ACE Digital account, an ACE Digital class online, what they usually do is that they send the information to access your account to your GDOE email, because that's our professional account that's connected to ACE Digital. So that was just an example of how you would actually navigate from starting with a simple access code and your temporary password to going to acedigitalacademy.net. So that was just an example as what would be the steps to take to set up or look through or access your ACE Digital account. So I do apologize if there was any misunderstanding, but I just wanted to clarify that. Also, just a friendly reminder that all the resources, reference guides from all the presentations that you guys have attended this week will be sent out to you at a later date. What we usually do is that we compile all the presentations, the reference guides at the end of the cycle, just to make sure they're finalized, fine-tuned. And then we usually share the link to the Google Drive to the participants or the attendees. All right, now before we continue on with this last section of my PowerPoint presentation, I do want to make sure and stress that you guys all sign in on the chat. So if you have yet to do so, or you're joining us a little late, please make sure to put your first and last name, your school site, your position and grade level that you teach, if you are a teacher, and your GDOE email. Now, just a friendly disclaimer, if you are using a personal account to participate in the Zoom webinar, that's fine. However, please make sure that before you use the evaluation or you sign on to the evaluation, that you're also signed into your GDOE email, or else you will not have access to the evaluation. Now, if you are a new teacher or you do not have an established GDOE email per se, just make sure that you put your email that's easiest to contact you or the fastest way to contact you, and we will share and shoot out that link to you. But again, we are stressing that teachers for GDOE, use your GDOE email, please. And thank you. All right, so let's get moving on. So teaching online. So the models of learning, we know that we have our face-to-face where we meet with our students every 3 days. It's also a different group every 3 days. We also have our home learning with hard copies. And then also we have our home learning fully online. So those are 3 different models of learning. And the question is, which model basically works for you? Now, you guys, if you were part of the training cycle last week momentarily, we know that we covered Moodle. But also we have our GDOE email and we have the license to the Google Suites. And I do highly encourage that if you're going to do an online classroom, I do highly encourage and support teachers to use Google Classroom, only because 1, all students have a GDOE email. 2, all teachers have a GDOE email. And 3, because we use our GDOE email, we do have that sense of security that this is a student's legitimate email. All right, and it's just one way of making sure that we are able to document interaction between teacher and student through our GDOE emails. All right, so one of the first things I want to just share is, even if you're not the most tech savvy person, when we say teaching online, even doing email correspondence is still teaching online. And if you want to just work with that, then that works too. You're still reaching out to your students, you're still making yourself accessible to your students. And for some people, email is just easier to work with. Now, with the learning management systems like Google Classroom and Moodle, it's basically an online classroom. You have all your documents stored there. You have your lesson plans stored there. You have links to videos and pictures that are resources for your lessons stored there. And that's just one way to have that interaction with your students via distant learning. Video conferences. If you're using Google Classrooms and we're using the Google Suite, then we also have Google Meets, which is just another form of Zoom conferences. And if you guys attended the module 2, I believe, for Google Suites, they should have given you a brief overview of Google Meets. Jamboard is another feature of the Google Suites that you can also just research and see what is offered. And then Zoom is the one that we have been using dominantly. All right, but the great thing about Google Meets is that, again, students have to use their GDOE email, which means those who are invited to our link are our students. They shouldn't be sharing that with anybody else. Jamboard, I am not the official person on this, or I'm not the professional on this, but I did sit in on some of the sessions, and Jamboard is another great tool to use for your students who are not the most savvy, but then also they do struggle with writing. This is another way for them to express themselves other than using writing. So it's just another tool for you guys to use. All right. So again, if you are not quite ready for Google Classrooms and Moodle, just working with email is not a problem. Learning management systems, this is an opportunity for trial and error, and it's an opportunity to just really blaze some trails in your teaching career if you've never really used Google Classrooms. It's one of the models that you may want to just try out and see what other features can be used. And because it is Google Classrooms, you have access to Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Spreadsheets. There's just a lot of features that are at the tip of your fingers. All you have to do is just give it a try. So moving forward. So some food for thought. I like using this term only because we need to feed our mind with information. We have some questions of thought. And whenever I am with my students, my food for thought are usually my bell ringers. These are the kind of things where I start to think about engagement. What kind of questions do I want my students thinking about and being able to answer by the time we finish our lessons? And we are in the dawn of a new era of learning, ladies and gentlemen. We are teaching distance learning. We are teaching from afar. So what kind of mindset should we have? So the following questions that I share with you are not all the questions you should be answering yourself, but maybe some questions you should consider, and maybe they will actually probe you and incite you to ask other questions about, with yourself when you're trying to plan for all the models of learning that you'll be implementing this school year. So some of the 5 top things that popped up in my head in regards to online learning is thinking about the resources, preparation, what kind of routine you're going to set up for your students, what are some expectations, not just for you, but also for your students. And then of course, rewards and consequences. As teachers, we think about this when we're trying to set up our syllabus, but that was only for our face-to-face. So how do you set up your mindset and your curriculum and your classroom when you are teaching it from afar? So in regards to resources, and these are questions we have to ask ourselves, and it's which model of teaching will you be implementing this school year? And I know that some of you guys are teaching all 3, so take a breath, you guys got this. And the awesome staff of CNI Curriculum and Instruction, we are here to support you. So just know you're not doing this alone. What resources do you need for your model, and where can you attain your resources? I have to say that the teaching profession teaches us how to be as thrifty as possible, also as how do you say this? We just resourceful. We know what to do. And if we can't get it, we find a way to get it. And there's no such thing as can't. So we make things work for us, even when we don't have all the necessary resources right at the tip of our fingers. So I believe that the teaching profession teaches us how to really work when we don't have as much. And I believe that there are some amazingly talented teachers out there. But again, you want to think about what resources are you going to need to make sure that you can teach your students. All right. Just something as, again, food for thought. In terms of preparation, so again, we have been working with how do we prepare our students? What are we going to teach our students this year? And how can we teach our students what they need to know? And so we can talk about all the disadvantages, but let's focus on what we can do. There are going to be challenges because this is something new. We're blazing new trails. This is a whole new form of classroom teaching that we're doing. And it's an opportunity for growth and thinking outside the box. And so what are some ways that you're thinking about what are some ways you're considering to teach your lessons? Have you thought about investing in green screens? Have you thought about really researching some YouTube accounts where these are really amazing lessons that you think your students will be able to learn? What are some other ways that you can make sure that you are readily available to help the parents and students and guardians when they have questions? Would you actually preset your lessons where you record yourself and then set it up on Google Classroom? So in the event that a student needs to see a teacher and have a lecture, they can always just put you on a loop and hear everything. So how would you prepare your lessons? How would you prepare your syllabus? What are some ways that you want to address these standards that need to be addressed? And again, these are just questions for food for thought. And just remember the most important thing, breathe. You guys got this. So routine. Just like we established routine in the classroom, what is going to be your routine for online learning? Are you going to require your students to sign in every day of the week, every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday? What's going to be your daily routine when they sign in? Are they supposed to do like what we do with every training module, make sure they have their first name and last name, the class period, and they sign in like checking in? Do they put GTG, which is good to go? What kind of routine will you set up for your students? And also, what kind of deadlines are you going to have for your students? Are you going to have a deadline every Wednesday and every Friday? Are you going to set up their assignments on Monday and they have to submit it by Friday at 11:59 p.m.? What are some routines that you want to set up? And again, not just for your students' convenience, but also for yours. I'll answer that question in a moment. All right, so expectations, just real quickly, sorry guys, we're looking over some of the questions, but here we go. So expectations, what kind of mindset do you need for this school year? So the most important thing to understand is that the teachers always set the mood of the classroom. When your students walk in and they see you happy, then they're thinking, okay, this is gonna be a good lesson. If they see that you don't seem that energetic or you seem kind of in a very poor mood, the students feed off of that. So you have to have that kind of mindset, like try to be positive, try to be optimistic that we're going to make this work even through the bumpy roads and all the little bumps here and there. And so what kind of mindset do you need to help you cope and thrive and survive during this upcoming school year? And then, of course, try to think positive. Think about the highlights. What do you think is going to be the advantage points for the way that we're teaching? Definitely a lot of growth in teaching ability, really seeing your potential as a teacher and reminding yourself why we chose this profession in the first place. And then also, after you set your mindset, what kind of mindset do you want your students to have? For me, that was one of the most important things to establish in the classroom. It was very important that my students know what kind of mindset I need them to be when they step into my classroom. So the question is, what kind of mindset do the students need when they step into yours? Rewards and consequences. Again, these are one of those little questions where we don't think of it in the big picture, but then as things come along and things start playing out, it comes up. So establishing that routine, that preparation, those expectations, what are going to be some rewards and consequences if students don't meet deadlines? What kind of interventions are you going to set up or plan for your students? Are you going to create office hours on the weekends? Are you going to have an office hour that's set aside for certain students via online? How often are your follow-ups with your students just to make sure they're doing okay, that they're doing fine? And it's not just academically, but also emotionally. We have to make sure that our students are okay too. And then if you have a grace period, like, okay, you had a due date on Friday, are you going to give them until Saturday with some points deduction? Again, creating those rewards and consequences. And then what are some incentives that you would like to offer? In classes, when it's that physical classroom, it's easier to add those incentives, oh yeah, you guys can have extra 10 minutes of class time to, like a free time or whatnot, if you guys do that, or they're able to do a free study period. Whatever those incentives were then, what can you work in your classroom now via online? So these are just little things that you may want to consider down the line as you try to create and envision how your class is going to go this coming school year. So just a friendly reminder too, and this is definitely one coping mechanism that you want to do other than breathe. What's important is to always have this visual in your mind and separate the two. What are problems or challenges that you guys can control versus those that you cannot control? We know that there are a lot of factors in the community that affect the education community. But as teachers, we know that sometimes we can't let that stop us from doing what we have to do, from doing what we love to do, and that is just educating our students. So look at the problems that we can control, look at the problems that we can address, and figure out very, unique ways or even just common sense ways to address these problems and these issues. The important thing is to know what's the difference between a problem that we can handle versus ones that we cannot control. So the Q&A, there were some questions that did pop up earlier. So around this point, I would like you guys to just share some questions and answers you may have in regards to ACE Digital or what was shared on this PowerPoint. I'll just give you guys like maybe a couple of minutes to start putting some Q&A up here, and then we'll move on with the slides. So just about 3 minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So before we finish up the tail end, before we do the evaluation and the information on the grad credit opportunity, there is a video that our Deputy Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction asked us to share with you guys. And it's one of his Friday messages. So I'm going to be sharing with you momentarily. And I hope you guys enjoy it. God, do you see it?
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a Friday. And all the things that we need to do to get ready for the beginning of the school year. And I just wanted to just kind of say a few words to you guys. I was gonna bring everybody together after training yesterday, but I realized that not everybody was there, and it was just so, to me, effective that you can actually videotape some of these things or record some of these things and just send it out via WhatsApp. I mean, I think it's a different way of communicating, although, it's always nice to be there in person, but at least, we can get the message across to all of you. So I just wanted to video record this quick message for you. But, of course, I want to thank all of you for the work that you're doing. And I really, gosh, I hope you realize it. But if you don't, I just want you to know that, the work that you're doing is just absolutely incredible. If you really think about what it means to build capacity in the district, you guys are really the prime example of that. I mean, the things that you've accomplished over the last couple of weeks are just absolutely incredible. Our department is so lucky to have all of you, working with us and supporting the teachers and administrators like you do. It's the work that we're doing is really far-reaching. This is not something that just addresses COVID. I mean, this is something that addresses COVID, but it's really going to change and really improve education on the island for many, many years to come. I mean, that's one thing about capacity building is once you build capacity, it can never really go back. I mean, yeah, sometimes the organizational structure can mess up a little bit, but when it comes to the individual folks, it's really something that is long lasting and stays with them personally. You see a bunch of teachers and administrators who, in some cases, go off and do different things. They either move off island sometimes, or they go off island to places that, and they get promoted in their roles. I know that we just had recently had a teacher, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's I'm sorry to embarrass you if it's embarrassing, but I think Leon's sister-in-law that recently got hired as assistant or principal at a Dodea school. Well, she's obviously, if you saw her resume, she's one of our teacher leaders. I had a chance to meet her as well. So, we have so many teacher leaders, administrators who really go off and do such great things, beyond the island. But, imagine that. A lot of them do stay. A lot of them do stay, and that's the capacity that we're building on the island right now, and that's the capacity that is being used in our schools. One of you guys made a comment. I forgot who said it yesterday, but one of you guys made a comment yesterday when we were talking about the teachers working in their PSSTs, and they said, "Wow, it's just so amazed that we just put the teachers together, and they were so quick and able to get their work started, and they already knew what to do." Well, that's an example of capacity building. Is these teachers know what their roles are, they know what they're supposed to do, and they have built the skill and knowledge necessary to achieve those things. And all of that is because of the work that you guys have done. And really, I want to thank you again. You guys are doing such an awesome job. Our department is really fortunate to have all of you. Like I mentioned, and if this is any indication of what the school year is going to look like, that I'm just incredibly inspired and incredibly excited, because as I mentioned, this is something that's really, really going to change how people view education, not just from a standpoint of the organization, but from individuals themselves. A lot of our students are going to have to really step up and take ownership and take pride in their own education. They have to advocate for themselves. They have to push. They really have to be independent. And they really have to be responsible. And how best do you teach this? By actually putting that responsibility in their hands. Now I know it's going to be hard. It's not going to be something, that happens overnight. There are going to be some challenges that a lot of folks aren't going to do as well. But it's a change that I think is going to need to happen, and I really look forward to seeing those results. So again, have a wonderful Friday. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. I know that the momentum is getting really strong, and I'm really excited, and I look forward to seeing what we have in store. So again, happy Friday, and if I don't see you, have a great weekend. Hi, good morning.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that was just a friendly message from Joe. It's a happy Friday message. Just a reminder that we're all in this together, and it's not just you working alone. Even us here at CNI, we are constantly working with teachers to make sure that you guys are prepared. So just remember that we are here for you guys, and we are providing as much training as possible. Now, if you have any questions or concerns, or maybe ideas for future training to help alleviate some anxiety you may have in regards to online teaching, by all means, reach out to us. You can email us at CANDI@gdoe.net. And then of course, just reach out to us if you know your instructional coaches or your district mentors, actually your instructional coaches for your schools. By all means, reach out to them and share your thoughts with them as well as us, so that we can better accommodate you guys and give you the support that you need. So here we go, moving forward. All right, so the evaluation that was set up by me, is that? All right, so as you can see on my screen, and I'll be sharing it in the chat momentarily, this is the link for the evaluation for this module of training. All right. Here we go. All right, so the link has been shared with you guys on the chat. And please make sure that you are signed into your GDOE email. Again, for those who do not have a GDOE email established, please make sure that you share your email with us on the chat, so that way we can forward it to you and you can take the evaluation for this module. All right, guys, so just letting you know that I usually send out the eval before the tail end of my message, only to make sure that everyone who's currently in attendance actually takes the time within our session time to do the evaluation. And then any Q&A you guys may have, we can address at the end. When you guys are done with the evaluation, if you just do a courtesy done, like just type it in the chat, then that would be awesome. Thank you guys for your time and your participation and your patience with this presentation. I really do appreciate that you guys are taking the time. I know you guys have a lot of things to prepare for the upcoming school year, but thank you for taking the time to attend these modules. We are almost done for the day. Since you're here. Uh, All right, while some people are finishing up on the evaluation, I'm just gonna go to the next slide, which is the information on the grad credit. All right, so for those who are attending this training cycle B from Tuesday to today, there is a grad credit opportunity for you guys. All right, so what you must do is you must submit a registration form and it should have been emailed to your admin. Please follow up, and all participants, but please follow up with your admin. They should have had the contact information and all the 401 in regards to taking these courses, or sorry, taking these modules for a grad credit. But you will submit this to the UOG's Global Learning and Engagement Office. They were formerly known as PIP. All right, the Professional International Programs, I believe. And you can call them to make a payment over phone, 735-2600 or 2601. And for those who are going to be doing the grad credit, please make sure that you register by today, the 31st, and please make sure your assignments are turned in and submitted to Eloise Sanchez by next week, Friday. So again, your registration is due today at the GLE office over at the University of Guam. If you are not comfortable making a physical payment and registering over there, you can make a payment over the phone. The number is located on my slide, 735-2600 or 2601. Assignments for this grad credit will be due by next Friday, August 7th by 11:59 p.m. to Eloise Sanchez. If you have any more questions or concerns in regards to the grad credit, feel free to email her at esanchez@gdoe.net. The deadline for session A was last week. To register for session B is today. If so again, last week, just understand that all right, so last week, Friday, was the due date for those who attended for training cycle A. Today's payment is for those who are attending training cycle B. And your assignments for those who are attending training cycle B will be due next Friday, August 7th. Again, if you need any more clarifications or questions that you would like to address, please feel free to email Eloise Sanchez at esanchez@gdoe.net. Again, for those who are very hesitant to go submit your form to UOG in person, please feel free to make a payment online, 735-2600. Moodle's not included with the training, correct? The Moodle training?
Moodle was only for cycle A.
Okay.
Moodle,
All right, so don't worry, you are not required, if you're attending session B, you are not required to, it's not required to do the Moodle module 6 for this training cycle B. That was just for cycle A. Thank you for your question though.